Hi everybody, this is Julissa. Thank you so much everyone for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much to everybody who's listening in the podcast. Today is Thursday, May 29, 2025. I wanted to come here and do a follow-up video regarding a topic that I came here. Well, it was kind of breaking news back in early in January. I think it was around January 15. I came here and told you about the sudden departure of the Newsboy lead singer Michael Tait. Okay, and there's an update that happened this week. And before I continue, I want to say thank you so much to everybody who has been following me and listening using Spotify podcast. Thank you so much for doing that. And don't forget to follow the podcast. And everybody who's listening using Apple Podcasts, I see you. I want to say thank you to everybody. I know there's a lot of people from the UK listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts. And of course, thank you so much to everybody who's watching this video right now on YouTube. So the situation, I remember coming here and telling you guys about the Newsboys. I think every Christian knows who the Newsboys are. It's a Christian band that they have been around for many years. And they present the gospel in a different type of setting. You know, they do have worship songs, but their music is very kind of like modern and upbeat. Okay, and I have actually had gone to one of their concerts, right? And it's a very interesting way to present the gospel in a creative way. It attracts a lot of young people, and you know, I always love how the Newsboys has stand with the same message of speaking about Jesus Christ throughout their entire franchise, I guess you can say, because they had changed lead singers in the past. I know he also came back to play again with them. But Michael Tait, I believe, has been with the band for so many years. And Michael Tait is the lead singer of the Newsboys, who was the frontman, like I said, many years, very well known, so many popular songs that he made with the Newsboys, you know. Kind of like iconic song, like, you know, God is Not Dead, right? Everybody knows that song, right? When that movie came out in 2014, that was like on loop everywhere. Every church played that song and in the radio, and then they were advertised the movie. It was like God's Not Dead, and it was Michael Tait's voice. And there's so many other songs, right? And for him to be, in my opinion, I think he was very iconic with the band. He definitely stood out, besides being the lead singer, but he definitely stood out. And suddenly, in January of this year, it was like a last minute thing that, you know, well, for the public, it was a last minute thing, you know. They came out and said Michael Tait is no longer with the band, right? He has resigned basically from his lead singer position. And I remember some type of answer from Michael Tait when that happened, right? And because you have to understand, we have a generation of Christians, the young generation who's growing up, that they have gifts and talents. They want to find their way to kind of share the gospel. And they look at a band like the Newsboys and they say, probably perhaps looking at Michael Tait and be like, I want to sing in a band for Jesus, you know. Let's just say somebody who has a musical talent, who has a talent for singing. And maybe that way, you know, they can say, I'm going to use my gifts and talents to glorify God. And perhaps I look up to Michael Tait as a person who does that. But Michael Tait did put out a statement. And I remember reading it. He was saying how, you know, it was not an easy decision, this and that. And then he was like saying how, I think back then, I remember reading it. It was something to a point of I want to kind of like glorify the Lord, something like that. And I remember questioning, isn't that what you've been doing with the band, right? And if that's not it, then we need more clarity, right? Because like I said, there's, you know, your testimony has so much value, especially if you are an influencer Christian. If you are a person in leadership, you know, your testimony has a lot of value. People are always watching what you do, and they, you know, and they get inspired. That's why the word of God says we will come by the word of our testimony. Sharing your testimony has so much value, but when you just kind of like, disappear like that, and even the band came back and say, we were so shocked by that decision, and we're like, what is going on with Michael Tait? And by now, it's almost June. By now, I expected some type of, at least a podcast or type of video interview from Michael Tait explaining this is where my heart was at, right? Because you need to understand you are a public figure, like I said, especially representing the Lord. We need more than just be like, oh, I'm just, I'm done with this, right? You need to understand too what we're living in the last days, and there's going to be a great falling away. Obviously, I'm not saying this is what happened here, but because I feel, guys, I feel it. There's a lot of spiritual warfare happening. A lot of people are kind of like, you know, not giving up, but kind of like in that line. When you're looking at everything that's happening in the world, it can get a little frustrating, right? And that's when we need to be watchful, and we need to pray and get closer and closer with the Lord, because that's how he's going to attack us, right? He's going to frustrate us enough, right? By everything that's happening in the world, by people being exposed, and you're like, what? People are looking now at the P. Diddy trial. Me like, my favorite singer, perhaps for some people, he was doing all of this stuff behind closed doors, and it can get kind of like frustrating, right? So when you are a representative of Christ, let's just say, and you are the lead singer of one of the most well-known Christian bands in the world, and you're just gonna one day be like, I'm done. And not only that, you put out a statement on Instagram, and you're saying that you're done or whatever, right, with the band, and then your band member come out and say this is so unexpected. They were wondering it was something that they did wrong. So there is kind of like there's no clarity, and when there is no clarity, it leads to people speculate. When people speculate, rest assured, 99% of speculation are never positive, right? And this is why I was calling out for Michael Tait back in January to at least come out and do some type of, real, saying this is where my heart is. This is what things that I saw that led me to take a drastic decision like that. People don't quit jobs like that, right? It's a build up that happens. There are things that you notice. There are things that you just don't want to do. It's different when you're saying, I'm quitting because I have to take care of a parent, right? I have to take care of a sibling that's sick or something. That's a different thing, right? But you just up and leaving, and it's not like you're gonna start your new project, nothing like this. That's the whole point. There was no clarity. Now the update was that the Newsboys tour has been canceled, and there was a troubling revelation about the lead singer exit. So let me read to you guys, okay? Amid controversy and confusion, Faith Live has cancelled the Newsboys 2025 Canadian tour, citing a lack of transparency over long-time frontman Michael Tait's sudden departure. The promoter, driven by a desire to protect the worship integrity, this is what they say, this is not a decision we made lightly or without headache. It comes after prayer, wise counsel, planning, financial sacrifice, and unwavering desire to see lives transformed through worship and community. We invested not just resources, but our hearts, believing this tour could be a powerful move of God across our nation. Faith Lives founder Sheena Hennig said on a Facebook post. She noted that her promotion was uninformed in advance regarding the band's abrupt change in lineup following 15 years that Michael Tait served as the lead singer until this past January, which confused both ticket holders and Faith Live. And this is what the promoter, so they had this concert, this tour, Canadian tour already lined up, right, for 2025, the Newsboys did. And then in January, there's the 15-year lead singer was like, I'm leaving. They're like, wait a second. And like I said, there's no transparency. And when there's no transparency, there's no clarity, it's going to lead to people, to assumption. Assumptions are never positive. And because of the times that we're living in right now, like, there is a demand for him to at least be transparent about the whole thing. Unless, there's something that he saw, so managing that he saw that he said, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And he's like, if I speak now, it's going to create some type of investigation. I mean, we're talking about musicians being exposed. We're talking about ministries being exposed and already in court things, right? I'm not saying this is happening, obviously, with the Newsboys, but I'm saying because everything else that we've seen happen since late 2023 and everything, so many people falling off the pedestal, I guess you can say now, because they're being exposed, because God is exposing everything that's being done that is not to his liking, right? And you see this lead singer just leave like that, and there's no clarity even to his band members saying we had no idea that he was going to do that. So I am glad, I'm glad that this tour in Canada is saying, what's going on, guys? Can we have some clarity? And not only that, they actually cancel the Newsboys from that tour because of that thing. And that's the thing about accountability. I am so glad that somebody, there's two things here that we can look at. The American church will be like, oh yeah, Michael Tait, Lee Squibb, whatever. So let's, you guys come and continue, right? Canada is like this organization in Canada is saying, hold on one second, we need to know exactly what's going on here, because we have people who were questioning what happened with Michael Tait, and the band is not being transparent about it. They're saying there's a lack of transparency, and we need to know what's going on. And because we have no transparency, we're going to just cancel the Newsboys from this tour. That says a lot, because everything is about integrity and accountability. We need people to kind of like be transparent, right? Especially when you're in such a position where you are an influencer. Not only that, but you're representing Christ, right? You go there to share the gospel. The Newsboys is known to be a Christian band. We're not talking about another, singer. We're not talking about what's the group? That's the Backstreet Boys. We're talking about the Newsboys. So what's going on, guys, right? So this organization said, since that time, additional information regarding the nature of his essay has surfaced. This information has come from sources we consider credible and trustworthy, and while we are not to speculate publicly, we can say with confidence that what has come to light has raised serious concerns for us as a faith-based organization. So see, I didn't know that, right? They're saying they have some knowledge about, the nature of why Michael Tait left the band. I had no idea this organization knew that. But they're saying that information came from credible sources. So obviously, there's something here. Okay, there's something here. And this is revealing so much about the American churches, because rest assured, the Newsboys didn't stop playing after January, when Michael Tait said they have been playing all over, right? And I'm not wishing anything on anybody, right? This is just my opinion. It's just revealing how the Christian church doesn't question anything, right? There's no accountability, there's no integrity, right? Obviously, not every church, obviously. I'm saying it's crazy how it took a faith-based Canadian organization to say, wait a second, why is the band not being transparent with Michael Tait here? They actually replaced all the vocals. I remember that happened like a week after. Not even a whole week has passed when Michael Tait left. The Newsboys replaced his vocals. And all the songs, I'm telling you, if you follow the Newsboys, right? I mean, their songs are so iconic in the Christian community. And Michael Tait has led that position for 15 years. The guy did not just start last year. And they replaced all the vocals immediately. It's not like, oh, we're actually gonna take a break. We're gonna talk to him. When people care for you so much. I'm not saying that they don't care for him, but obviously this is revealing that they knew something, because they're saying, maybe we should take a break now and get some counseling, find out why is our lead singer just leaving. Perhaps we can kind of have somebody talk to him, because this is his income, this is his employment for 15 years. We are a band that share the gospel. We are known in the Christian community, right? Our testimony might be in jeopardy here. Why don't we take like a month off, right? And see if we can come to some type of, some type of agreement with Michael, because we need him, right? He's so iconic in the band. It's like within a week, all the vocals was replaced, almost like they already know that he was not gonna. There was no talking back to him, or that he was not gonna come. But yet they say it took us by surprise. So I understand where this organization is coming from. They're saying there's a lack of transparency, and we heard some information from very credible sources, and we decided from that, because of the lack of transparency, to just cancel the Newsboys for this Canadian tour. So we'll see what's going to come out of this, right? Additional, the leader for this organization said she claimed that the Newsboys team failed to offer any minimum support to artist engagement to help audiences connect with new frontman Adam Agee. The handling of that transition really lacked clarity and transparency, leaving both our teams and the general public in difficult position. I mean, props to this organization. It takes a lot for somebody to pinpoint an issue with somebody so iconic as a very famous Christian band like they are. They're saying, they were like I said, they replaced the vocals so quickly, and they're like, oh, Adam Agee is going to take over, and Michael Tait is no longer with us, and let's move on with our lives. I am so thankful that somebody said, wait a second, we need more clarity. What is going on, right? I'm so happy that they did this. I have looked over Michael Tait's Instagram all the time since the news broke out about him in January. And I'm like, man, he's not even going to come out and put like a reel about it. What is going on, right? And people can say, well, he can do whatever he wants to do. Like, yes, I guess I understand. But when you are a public person who has been the lead singer of a very iconic Christian band, who has been the singer for a very iconic Christian band for 15 years, and we are living in the last days, and you're going to be like, peace out. Like, come on. We have pastors who have lost ministry for 30 years. Now they're like in court proceedings. You cannot blame the person on the other side, the person in the public questioning, what happened with Michael Tait? Well, he has all the rights to do whatever he wants. Like, we know he has the right to privacy. He can do whatever he wants, but we need some type of accountability, at least from the band. The band is like, well, he just kind of got up and left. We don't know. Like, I am so happy that this organization is saying, we know that something is up, and we need transparency. Okay? And look at that. It was from a Canadian organization. That says a lot too, right? So, regarding the lineup change, Hennig said that Faith Live was instructed not to address questions regarding the lineup change, which she contended compromised the integrity of the lineup. We can understand that. I actually heard, I don't even know, There's a famous Christian, another famous Christian band who's replacing the Newsboys, and I just happen to forget the name now. Crazy. So it says here, she said, "We believe this is not in the best interest of our ticket holders. As ticket holders await compensation for our tour cancellation, Faith Life promised to contact them within 30 days." On the other hand, the Newsboys released their own statement expressing deep disappointment and blame Faith Life for canceling the tour. So now they're saying, this is what the Newsboy release say. "Unfortunately, despite repeated efforts to hold this tour together, Faith Life has materially breached the agreement and failed to meet core obligations necessary to responsibly execute this event," the band said. The band, which maintained to have provided updated marketing materials and complete transparency, further accused the promoter of not providing the necessary artist deposit, confirming payments to supporting acts, coordinating technical production with venues, communicating the venue staff, and a bunch of stuff. Newsboys say they also said that they had no access to ticket revenue, no control over the ticket system, and no legal financial role on ticket refunds. They also said, "We are heartbroken for our Canadian fans," the band wrote. "We truly believe in what God is doing across Canada, and we remain committed to returning when the right doors are open and trustworthy partnerships are in place." Although Tait said his decision came after prayerful reflection and a sense of clarity, Agri said the former DC Talk singer told the band he was going to focus on himself and step down just days before the tour began. I know that he left and he just gave us a few reasons why he was stepping down, and he just said he was going to focus on himself. Other than that, this is what Adam McGee said, the now new lead singer. He said he was just gonna focus on himself. Other than that, I don't really know because we didn't really discuss it further. Hopefully he'll make some kind of a statement soon, but that again, it's just up to him. We just wish it had happened a little bit sooner, but there's nothing we can do about that. And I think we try to make the most out of it, and we wish him all the best moving forward. It's just, even reading that, the guy has been going on tour with you. I know Adam Agi was probably the newest member there, but you go in tour buses, you go on, you travel together to all these events. He's like your teammate, and he's been there 15 years, and he's like one day, "Oh, I'm just gonna go focus on myself, bye." And we believe he made the right decision. Like, there is no, let me have a conversation. What is going on with him? Especially when you guys are Christian brothers, right? When you work with people who are Christian, you expect some type of additional care for you when something is going on, right? You expect somebody to be like, just don't even believe that. Let me have a talk with him. Let me find out what's going on. Maybe we can pray together. I mean, the guy didn't start it last year. He's been there for 15 years. So this is the lack of transparency that people are talking about. So hopefully, like even he said here, hopefully he'll make a statement soon. So let me know, guys, what you think about this. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to my channel. Thank you to everybody who's listening in the podcast. Have a good day, everybody. God bless.